This discussion is is a case study. Really, it's a case study of something very, very interesting. Now, I had never heard of Securian Financial before, so I was intrigued, and the more I got into the conversation with the team here, the more I got excited, and I'll explain to you exactly why. But before I do that, we should go with the team here. So I'm your host for the next 30 minutes here. This is Seraj Bharwani. I'm with Illumin, which is a journey advertising company, a public company. We're quite excited about it. But today's discussion is not about that. Today's discussion is about Securian Financial, right? So why don't we start? Mary, you want to introduce yourself, please?
Thank you. My name is Mary Huss. I've been with Securian for a little over 5 years. I am what my fun title, brand Storyteller at Securian. This, as you can probably tell by the gray hair, this is my fifth career that I've had. So it's not I haven't been at Securian for long, but five years is a good amount of time.
Yeah, great. Go ahead, Joe.
I'm Joe Lutz. I lead our brand and corporate marketing team here at Securian Financial. And I will say in 2018, none of this existed. So this is a new story for us that we'll be sharing here in a little bit. So.
My name is Eric Martin. I am the creative director for our in-house creative agency. And I've been evangelizing on behalf of Securian for almost 17 years. And been along on the journey of having absolutely no brand to an amazing brand that we have today.
Excellent. Thank you. So you will see today, we will first introduce you to what is Securian Financial. Joe, let's start with that so that people here understand, number one, what is the brand, what's the company, what's the business about, who is a typical customer, just so that we can all be together.
Yeah, so Securian is a group life insurance company. So that means your employer offers you life insurance, and you may not know or have a choice that you're life insurance carrier and that you have life insurance. And in 2018, we decided we need to have a bigger brand. And so we took off to market, and we said we wanted to make sure people knew that when they had options to buy life insurance or buy more life insurance, they knew that we are a company. Our two biggest competitors are MetLife and Prudential. We're number 3 in the marketplace, but have very little brand awareness. So we wanted to play in the same space, but didn't have the same brand recognition. And so in 2018, that was our plan. We wanted to get out there and do it. A little thing called the pandemic came in, and being a life insurance company in the pandemic and being a brand marketer, that was an easy thing to cut. So we lost a lot of our funding in 2018. That's probably why many of you don't know who we are, is because we had a great plan and a great strategy and a great opportunity to scale, but we had to pivot. And so that's what we want to talk about today is we had an opportunity to grow consumer awareness, but we really had a need to grow employee awareness. We're a 140-year-old company, and even in Minnesota, where we're headquartered, we didn't have a lot of awareness with employees or prospective talent. People would stick around. We have a pension plan, so people would be like, let's stick around at Securian. We have something called a North Star 25 group, which is people who've been at the company 25 years or more. Our company total is 5,000 employees right now, 5,500, and we have 1,200 people in the North Star 25 group. And so when the pandemic hit and the Great Resignation hit, that changed our company philosophy of we couldn't rely on people sticking around, and we couldn't rely on the talent pool. Being in the Twin Cities, we have companies like Target and Best Buy and General Mills who have very strong brands that are a lot sexier than financial services. Although I will say, check out these shoes. We got some brand swag that is making the game.
They're pretty cool.
So that set up the position of, as a financial services company and a Fortune 500 company, we had a big story to tell, but we weren't telling it. And so we needed to.
Okay, excellent. Are you guys with us so far? Do you understand the problem here? This is a highly successful, financially successful company with hardly any brand recognition. And so my question from the very beginning was, well, that's brilliant. You saved so much money over the past 140 years without any money invested in branding, and yet you are so successful. Okay, well, what changed? Why in the world do you need to build a brand now, right? And I think that was sort of the intriguing thing for me at that point, right? And so the core issue here now, as you are recognizing, is how do you attract talent? How do you bring the right people now to the company so that you can, in fact, continue to grow? That's the bigger issue. And so, how do we go about that? How do you solve that problem? So, the case study is solving that problem. Okay, let's go to Mary for a second, right? So, Mary, what is it like to work at Securian Financial? What's the work like?
Yeah. So I started in 2019, and when I started, I remember they put your years of service on your badge, and I would walk around and I would see 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, and I'm like, wow, people must really love it here, which is great. But what I didn't see was a lot of diversity. Age, and when I talk about diversity, I mean like age, the different Gen X, millennials. I didn't see a lot of ethnic diversity. There's quite a bit, gender diversity was fine, but so it was a community where people came and they enjoyed the work they did and the people they worked with, and they didn't leave. And again, nothing wrong with that, other than we're not really diversifying our workforce and therefore diversifying our way of thinking.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is not unusual in the sense that many long-standing companies have had very loyal employees who have been there through the generations, but we are now beginning to recognize that you need to be clearly more diverse, right? You're trying to attract more younger talent into the company, and without any real recognition, how do you do that, right? And so, if you wanted to turn that around, where did it start? Is it because you had some research, you had some thoughts, you had some ideas in terms of how you would do that?
Yeah,
Or-
it started with panic. It started, COVID hit, and all of a sudden the job market just changed. And the talent acquisition came to the brand team and said, help. We need help. We need you to help us. And it wasn't like, here's an opportunity. It's like, we need to fix this.
Yeah, so it's like an issue, real issue right now. Okay, fine. So you need to fix that. Okay, so I'm gonna pivot to him here with Eric, because Eric is the creative guy. He's the one who's supposed to come up with big concepts, big ideas. Eric, where did you land based on this whole idea of attracting new, younger talent into the company?
Yeah, so we were challenged to put forth the brand that people weren't familiar with and get them to trust it and come work for us. And that's a challenge in the market where we're with those other brands that Joe had mentioned, that people, if we have the same exact offer for a job between this other brand that they know, they would choose that. So how do we get them to trust us? And we took this as a big opportunity to partner with the brand team, with our internal creative agency, to come up with the messaging. And we were really thinking about our brand personality. Being genuine is one of our brand personality traits, and also authenticity. I know it gets thrown around a lot, authentic, but in a way that we're true to ourselves, but also trying to appeal to someone else's truth of who they are and their purpose, and get them to see their purpose in their work with us without knowing who we are. So we did a lot of brainstorming and tested a lot of messaging, and we ended up with a concept for campaign Be You With Us. It's very simple, straightforward, but it was an idea to say, like, be who you are. Bring your passion to work. Bring more you to your work. Be an innovator with us. Be creative with us. Be a game changer with us. An idea of identifying someone's unique individualism and inviting them to be something that's greater than the sum of its parts with us.
Yeah,
And
this is obviously, for a company where there have been it's a big transition, right? Because you are a very community, very family-oriented business. And so to bring individualism in there, it's a big thing, right? And how do you do that? And we are obviously going to go deeper into that. But I wanted to draw attention for the audience here for a second. Has anybody read the book by Jean Twenge on generations? There are 3 key ideas in that book. I'll spare you the 3 hours of your time. The 3 big ideas there are: 1, the core theme through the generations over the past 150 years has been 1, technology. As simple as a washer and a dryer and your television kind of thing, right? Simple things to what we have seen around us today, right? That has fundamentally changed where we are in the generational sort of progression here. The second big theme underneath that is individualism. We have progressively over generations moved towards being more individual. We want to be identified as us, as unique in what we do. And so these guys are building up on that theme of the big idea. And so, Mary, I'm going to come back to you on that. How did you bring that to life? How did you support this concept with substance?
Yeah. So we started with taking our existing sponsorship and ad spend and the money that we had, and we pivot. And so any of our out-of-home billboards, Skyway, that type of thing, we had Be You With Us ads to do recruiting. We had signs in our sports sponsorship stadiums, Be You With Us. And so that was really the start. And that all happened a little bit before I came onto the brand team. And so when I came onto the brand team, I loved that campaign. I loved Be You With Us, and I wanted to take it a step further. Like, what does that look like? So we're recruiting people, we're telling them to be you with us, but what does that look like? And how do we live that currently at Securian? And so I pitched Joe this idea of doing these really journalistic articles about our associates. And Joe's like, yeah, you know, if it doesn't cost anything, yeah, go ahead and do it. And it didn't cost much. So we did it very intentionally. We didn't just want one of our copywriters to write a story. We didn't want a headshot. So we had a person who was skilled in interviewing and writing to do the interviews. And it was still COVID, and so these happened over Zoom. And then we hired a photography team to do really stylistic photography to draw out these people's personalities. So I had a few ideas when I pitched this of who I wanted to invite from associates, you know, in my small circle, like, oh, you know, these couple of people would be really good. And so, but I also knew I needed help. I couldn't just have my little bubble of people. So I asked our associate resource groups to also, you know, tell us who do you think would be good associates for these stories. And we started off, I think, with six or seven people that we identified. And, you know, Chidi is from Nigeria, and he was one that I envisioned right away. Chidi comes to work wearing his Nigerian clothing, and it's beautiful. And I'm like, I want to do a story on Chidi. And Michelle, who I worked with, Michelle is from Korea, and she was just really delightful. I'm like, I want to do a story on Michelle, and so I connected this group of people with the writer. They'd get, you know, I'd introduce them to the writer on the Zoom call. They would talk to the writer. I would get off the call, and next thing you knew, I was getting these stories back, these beautiful stories that I could never have gotten to that depth with them. And it was because of they got on these Zoom calls with someone that looked like them, a person of color, a woman who could, and I would get feedback from these associates saying, thank you for your intentionality on how you went about this. They were really grateful for that. And it's just been amazing, the stories that we did, but there was a real trust there. And once I got these stories back, and Michelle told us about her bipolar disorder, and you know, Scheiden told us about, you know, her her struggle, coming over from China, and Patrick, who's in the service and always wanted technology in the military to be part of his life, and how he could do that at Securian because we allowed him to do that. Incredible stories.
Yes. So basically, our idea here is how can you be original, unique, credible, that you're trying to attract people to a workspace that others feel like I can belong there, right? That was the idea. Essentially, what you are trying to do, if I understand correctly, is before people would want to believe you, they want to actually feel that the experience is something that they can relate with, right? First, as opposed to they show up and then they try to be themselves, but they don't feel like the culture is really receptive to what they and who they are, really, right? So you're changing that whole thing to make the invitation sort of more welcoming, right? That's essentially the idea you're relating with that. Okay, all sounds beautiful so far, but I know the audience is always skeptical. This audience is very skeptical in general. And so they're wondering, it's like, okay, well, sounds good, sounds beautiful. These are the kinds of things they should be doing. But what was the impact? What really happened here?
Yeah, well, I can take that one. It was really interesting. As Mary had noted, I received a call from our head recruiter that said, we need help. We need to get butts in seats. And then it evolved. Our campaign evolved to, we need to get the right butts in the seats. So as we evolved, it was so interesting to take the marketing message we created with no HR input. It was like, hey, does this sound right? And they're like, yeah, that sounds okay. And then when we rolled it out, it became a part of our employee value proposition. It impacted the culture internally, where that was now their message that they told, and not just a marketing message. It was, this is who we want to be. And that was not our intent when we created the marketing message, but we actually changed the culture of the company in a really positive way, that these stories are really impactful. They actually send Mary gift cards to say, thank you for telling this story, or how telling my story, because it allowed me to open up at work in a different way. It allowed my family to see what I do. And that was really impactful. And then it kept going. We rolled that out as our employee value proposition. We opened up an art gallery, and Eric can talk about that, where people who just like to paint could bring that to work. And they could we have people who are New York Times bestsellers that work at our company. We have people who are artists that work at our company, and it's like their day job, but it's also who they are. And so to say the marketing message turned part of the culture, it was real. And not only that, we actually got real results too. We did start recruiting more. We got double in 1 month. They doubled the number of people that they were recruiting. They got double the applicants in 1 month alone. And they kept that number and higher as we went on. So yeah, go ahead.
This is obviously incredible. You all realize like what really happened here. It's many times when a brand decides, hey, we want to be X. This is our aspiration, sort of. Let's get some big agency to really draft up the big ideas, go out there and tell a great story and recruit a lot of great talent. Beautiful. Sounds good, but we haven't changed. We are still the same. We're the same company. We'll keep operating the same way. We'll just tell a great story out there. That doesn't work today. You've heard this thing, right? The new generations, I'm not going to keep repeating that. The new generations here, whether it's Alpha or whoever that is these days, Gen Z, they don't believe in these beautiful messages. They don't really trust all the stuff you plaster out there on billboards. They want to know you genuinely are who you are, what you say. They worked on the real thing. They changed the internal culture to really make them more receptive to the audience they want to bring into the company. Do you realize how big a deal this is? Okay, let me explain to you with my own personal story. So, Illumin, the company that I represent here, is a company that 4 years ago invested over $100 million to develop an amazingly powerful, innovative platform for journey advertising. Okay? Something that now Amazon talks about, Walmart talks about, a bunch of other people talk about, but we were there 4 years ago, right? Okay, it's a small company. Bold move, but where's all the talent? As we were growing crazy, we went public. Our stock price went from $2 to $5 to $10 to $28 in just a year and a half on NASDAQ. Well, when a company grows that fast, you need a lot of talent. So what did we do? We started buying up companies. Why? Is it because we needed new technology? Is it because we needed something else? No, we needed people. We needed good people. They bought my company for $25 million to get 10 people. We bought another company for $30 million to get 15 people. Do you see where I'm going with this thing? You have a choice. You can dump and unload amazing amount of money to bring in new talent, or you can do what these guys did. They created something from within. That's a powerful thing. Great job, guys. You have questions?
This is an amazing panel. I know you have questions.
So you talked about you had a plan of doing brand awareness. Then the world hit its pause and you got the hiring. So what's now the plan in 2024 to increase your brand awareness outside of the internal?
Yeah, I will say the faucet hasn't turned back on yet, so we're still limping along, at least from the brand side. The goal is to do both, right? I mean, and the way the brand works is the raising tide raises all boats or something like that, where if we were to do consumer awareness, then that also hits employees as well. One of the things with this and why we said it's a shoestring budget but also have stadium sponsorships is we couldn't turn those off. Those were deals that were in place, but we just pivoted with our stadium sponsorship. So we're a big Midwest company, so we were in Chicago, in the Twin Cities, but we were also in Houston. But our talent pool was mainly in the Twin Cities. So we were able to turn a lot of our, we're at the Wild and the Twins and the Gophers, and we're able to turn those into advertising for us. But they still do serve as a consumer awareness for us as well. But they're just in places that help us with recruiting. But I think long term, we do want to raise consumer awareness, being in the same space as MetLife and Prudential, and those being our two biggest competitors in the space. We still have a long ways to go.
Yeah, Joe, provide some numbers that you actually shared with me in terms of awareness. Broad national level
Yeah.
awareness is about?
When we started in 2018, it was at 2%. And we did increase that to 15 before our money got cut off. And that was still on a limited budget, too. So we were going after target markets. And on those target markets, we actually got up higher in the Twin Cities. We got up to 40, which was great. But that's where a heavy majority of our marketing spend is. So, yeah, but we started at 2%. So we started at the bottom, and now we're still close to the bottom. But hopefully we'll get more.
Well, it has to start somewhere. And I think it's great progress. Anything else?
I've got one more.
Go ahead.
So awareness is very important, but I think in your specific topic, education is huge because a lot of people aren't exactly sure, what does Securian do? Why do I need them? So you can spend your awareness, but what's the plan for that? Because I almost feel like that's the step next, right? People need to know about us to come work for us, but people who need us, how do they learn more than awareness?
Joe, I want to add to that a little bit, as a little color, because the question is, don't know whether it all registered here in the way you were describing at the front end of it. The question really is the way your product is purchased. We just went through the enrollment period, so it's top of mind for me. So whenever there is supplemental life or supplemental health or other supplemental things that are going on, they're almost like a background thing. That's not the core, right? And so to her point, wouldn't it be helpful to have some level of top of mind awareness so that people know, oh, I get it.
Yeah,
Right?
if I could have all of you come and talk to our CEO, that would be awesome. No, we're a B2B brand. So one of the things we have to do is we sell to employers, big employers, Fortune 100 companies. And we work with them to help educate. It's a lot about financial literacy, financial education. What do you need? What coverage do you and your family need? All of that is very important. And it does start with financial literacy. People don't necessarily know what coverage they may need. It's a very confusing thing. And a lot of the times we're a ghost brand. Sometimes the employer just wants to say, hey, check this box when you're going through open enrollment to say you want additional coverage, and we don't even show up. But we want to show up, and if we do show up, we want to make sure people do know who we are because they will then feel comfortable taking that shot with us, because there are other ways to buy insurance, not through your employer, that you can choose a brand you want to choose.
Absolutely.
Because you don't get that
Absolutely.
choice through your employer.
Absolutely. So just to give you an idea. Oh, you have questions, right? Would you mind?
I don't mind at all.
It's just feedback. That's how I actually know Securian. It's through my husband. Like
Awesome. You're a
we do
customer.
additional, but so it shows up every quarter, right, on my dining table, and I'm like, oh, it's like real people. And then, so like, were you ever considering? Because like to me, that's honestly like your
Yeah.
brand recognition. About the time when I'm about to forget,
Yep.
quarterly that
We're there.
mail shows up. So were you trying to do anything through as part of that quarterly email for your existing customer or whatnot?
Yeah.
Just curiosity.
Yes, that's a great question. And it gets really complicated because sometimes we can't control what the employer wants to share as well. So yes, we do like to do additional education. We like to do sessions where we come and educate, and we have a whole marketing team that's set aside to help us with that. But sometimes the employer's like, we want to take that. We want to do the education. We want to make sure people are knowing what we offer as a benefit. But I think that is a ripe for opportunity of how do we get there. And I think that's a nugget that maybe is the next horizon for us to get.
That's the billboard.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
No, it's so interesting, it's like how much control do you have on the channel? For them, the employer is the channel, right? And so to the extent that you can, it's great, right? You had a question there?
We have one last question.
When you're working with your CEO, how did you get their input on the aspirations of the company's talent strategy? Like, where did they want to go as you developed your employer brand?
I think that's a great question, and I will say in this case, it's not best laid plans. This was not hey, we have this all thought out. It was, we are in panic mode because we don't have enough people to do the job that is done. And so when this came out, it was, we need to get butts in seats. How do we do that? And then from that, the talent strategy came. And we worked with our HR team. We worked very closely with them. But this was such a unique circumstance of, we need help today. And then from that, it kind of built out from there. And our CEO is very supportive, both of the brand. I was somewhat kidding if this is recorded. He's totally supportive of us. But it's just, how do you make sure that the faucet that gets turned on is the brand faucet, because it does raise both and it does get talent in the door, and the right talent too. So,
All right. This was fabulous. Thank you so much. It was exciting. Do you want to show the video?
We'll just
Let's
show
do-
you some of the.
Let's show the execution. Let's show the execution. One more. Okay.